Hi, my name is Peter Wilder. I am an HVACR drives application engineer at ABB. In this presentation, I want to discuss how to troubleshoot an overcurrent fault that shows up on the drive as hex code 2310. This presentation will reference the ABB ACH 580 series drive, which is the HVAC drive. However, this presentation and information can be applied to other ABB drives or also non-ABB branded drives. To start out this presentation, let's discuss how does the drive detect an overcurrent fault. In the image on the right of a variable frequency drive in a motor, you can see three red circles that are around each of the three output phases of the drive. These three red circles represent individual current sensors that are installed in the drive. When the drive detects a peak current that exceeds a fixed threshold in the drive immediately trips out an overcurrent fault. As I just stated, it's a fixed level. This means that there's no setting in the drive to adjust the current level that the drive will use to trip on an overcurrent fault. The overcurrent fault is designed to protect the drive, specifically the output IGBTs, from failure. The overcurrent trip on an ABB drive will be represented by the hex code 2310. Now, also associated with the hex code 2310 is an aux or auxiliary code. This auxiliary code represents the individual phase that the overcurrent trip was detected on. Now, the aux code is also a hex number. So, for example, on the image on the right from a drive composer support file I have, you can see the aux code is the number 4. Well, what is 4? 4 is not the fourth phase on a three-phase motor because that doesn't exist. So, how do I decode the aux code? I recommend using, for example, in Microsoft Calculator, the programmer mode, which allows you to convert hex numbers easily to binary numbers. So if you go into programmer mode on Microsoft Calculator, enter in the number 4, for example, in this case, as the hex number, HEX number, automatically the binary or bin number at the very bottom will represent the individual phase that the overcurrent trip was detected on. Now, in this example, you can see I have 0100. Well, 100 represents actually bit 2, and this is also a little confusing because when you convert to binary, it's 0 based. You don't start at 1, you start at 0. So the rightmost 0 is phase 1, the second to rightmost is phase 2, and the third from the right is phase 3. So bit 2 in this case, which represents T3 or W output phase on the drive, is the phase that the overcurrent trip was detected on in the example in the image on the right. Let's now discuss some tips on how to troubleshoot an overcurrent fault or warning you may have on your VFD. These tips are in no particular order, so feel free to use whatever tip you want to first to troubleshoot your specific problems. This first tip is used to identify if the drive is actually functionally operational or not. To do this, we're going to remove the motor wiring from the drive. Now, if you have an ACH 580 drive, an HVAC drive, the default setting is scalar mode. This is important to note. You want to make sure the drive is set for scalar mode. If you have an industrial drive, you may have to change the drive from vector mode to scalar mode in parameter 9904. Also, we'll want to disable output phase loss, which is done by a parameter 3019. Once these two things are done, you can run the drive in hand or local mode and see if the drive operates at whatever output frequency. You don't need to take any voltage measurements on the output right now. All you're doing is just trying to see if the drive runs or if it faults. If the drive were to fault on an overcurrent trip with no motor wires attached to the VFD, obviously then we do have a defective drive at this point, and either the drive needs to get replaced or repaired. For tip number 2, we're going to inspect the motor wiring. This is going to include the motor wiring between the drive and the motor, and also the motor wiring in the motor conduit box itself. To do this, we'll want to first start by removing the motor wiring from the drive and measuring the motor wires to ground. Ideally, you want to use as a minimum of 500 volt, but ideally 1000 volt measure. We'll want to inspect the motor wiring in the motor conduit box. Make sure that the motor is wired correctly, star versus delta, If there's any connections that don't need to be made, depending on the motor configuration, make sure those wires are capped off. I have seen it before where wires that didn't need to be connected to anything were just left exposed in the motor conduit box by the electrician and just thus arcing to the motor frame when the drive attempted to run the motor. Also, make sure that the connections are tight. There's no copper, for example, poking through the electrical tape. I've seen that also before, a copper wire strand poked through the electrical tape in the motor conduit box and arc to the motor frame. Well, next want to inspect the motor wiring in the conduit. This can obviously be difficult because you can't look right through the metal conduit to see if the motor wiring looks fine. To troubleshoot this, it may be easiest to just pull new temporary motor wiring between the drive and the motor, lay it across the ground, and attempt to have the drive run the motor with that wiring. Another option is you could pull the existing motor wiring out of the conduit and try doing a visual inspection. Sometimes, though, these little nicks and cracks in the wire can be hard to see with the naked eye. Something I learned about recently is the use of solid wire between the drive and the motor. I've never previously seen it in my life, but I heard about it from a VFD technician that to save money, the electrician used solid wire instead of stranded. Solid wire obviously is not going to bend as easily around curves, so you could have the insulation scraped off as it's being bent. Also, depending on how much the solid wire is bent back and forth, it could crack under the insulation, for example, and you now may have a bad connection in the wire itself. The type of motor wire used should also be reviewed. THHN wire has been used successfully for decades as VFD wire between the drive and the motor. This, though, is not ideal wiring. THHN wire can absorb moisture in its insulation, reducing its voltage withstand rating. So there may be the need to upgrade the motor wiring being used to a better type of wire cable. Also, review parameter 3120. This parameter in the drive is for earth fault. It allows you to enable or disable earth fault. If, for example, you have disabled earth fault, which you may be thinking many of these topics I'm discussing, why is not earth fault not being thrown on the drive as a fault code, and why is overcurrent potentially? It could be because 3120 was disabled. So the next higher level current protection trip is overcurrent. The third cause of an overcurrent trip that we're going to review is related to the motor data that is programmed into the drive. This is especially important to review when dealing with a permanent magnet style motor or a synchronous reluctance motor that can have magnets embedded into the air gaps. ABB sells this type of motor as the EC titanium motor, for example. In the motor parameter group in an ABB drive, we want to review specifically the voltage value programmed into parameter 9907. This value should not be your nominal voltage, such as 230 or 460, but actually the back EMF voltage. This back EMF voltage many times can be programmed on the standard motor nameplate, or sometimes it's also located on a separate motor nameplate, potentially mounted even on the opposite side of the motor from the standard motor nameplate. Adjustments to the motor or speed control loop in the drive may also need to be adjusted so that the drive is properly controlling the motor. If a motor is freewheeling prior to the run command being given, adjustments to the drive start method may be necessary so that this motor is brought to a complete stop during the start method process so that the magnets can be aligned in the motor and then the drive will start running the motor in the correct direction properly. As I stated at the beginning of this presentation, an overcurrent fault is detected on the output of the VFD, but input power quality can also be a cause for an overcurrent trip. Well, how is this possible? Because the drive has a DC bus in the middle. Well, a rapid loss or change on the input side of the drive on the input AC voltage could cause a very rapid change in the DC bus voltage, which could also cause high current to flow to the motor. Now, what are some possible causes of input power issues to the VFD? Well, for example, single phase input. If we all of a sudden have the drive go from three phase to single phase briefly, the DC bus will have a high oscillation. Passive harmonic filters, sometimes also in the industry known as trap filters, to produce low harmonics in the input of the VFD. These are also known to cause potential overcurrent trips.
The passive harmonic filter has capacitors. Those capacitors could start oscillating with the drive's internal DC bus capacitors, causing a high ripple on the DC bus, and thus causing potentially an overcurrent trip. Modification of the drive parameters many times resolves situations of resonance between a drive and a passive harmonic filter. And what are some of those solutions of parameter changes? One of the most simple ones potentially is to adjust the drive's motor control from scalar motor control to vector motor control. This can help resolve potential issues if you do have poor input power quality or high oscillations on your input power that could be causing random or nuisance overcurrent trips. For tip number 5 on what could be causing an overcurrent fault on the VFD, I want to discuss the application. What I mean by that is, what is the motor connected to? Is the motor connected to a fan, a pump, a conveyor belt, a rock crusher? That's the application. Now, one of the classic examples of an overcurrent trip on an application is on a pump that's designed to not run backwards. And in this scenario, the pump has a mechanism mounted on it that prevents the impeller from rotating backwards. And when you're first commissioning a drive motor in the pump, you're guessing on the rotation when you're landing the motor wiring on the drive. And if you guess wrong and the drive attempts to run the motor backwards, that mechanism on the pump is going to lock up, prevent the rotation, and high currents flow between the drive and the motor, and that will cause potentially an overcurrent fault. So in that scenario, obviously swapping two of the output wires between the drive and the motor will instantly resolve that problem. Now, in line with that type of issue, high starting loads. Anytime you have, let's say, a jam in a conveyor belt, for example, or let's say you have a conveyor belt with a pile of rocks on it that are more than normally should be on it, the load could be too high, and thus high current now is also flowing between the drive and the motor, and you could get an overcurrent trip. Also in line with the application, the accel time. How quickly am I attempting to accelerate this application? When I talk about quick accel times, I'm not talking like 30 seconds or a minute. I'm talking like around 1-2 seconds, anything really below 5 seconds. And you're trying to accelerate up to, let's say, even half speed, 900 RPMs or 30 hertz, or full speed, 60 hertz or 1800 RPMs. When you're trying to accelerate in a very short period of time, high current can flow between the drive and the motor to get that load moving. So there is a possible cause of an overcurrent fault. So you may have to extend out your accel time to resolve an overcurrent fault depending on the application. And just in general, shock loading. For example, if you had a pile of bricks on a conveyor belt and all of a sudden, the conveyor belt's humming along and all of a sudden you drop a pile of bricks on the conveyor belt, all of a sudden that's an instant shock load on the application, and you could also get an overcurrent fault in that scenario. So review the application as a possible cause of your overcurrent fault.
Another not as common but possible cause of an overcurrent fault on a drive is due to long motor cable distances. In the hardware manual for the drive, it lists the maximum motor cable distance the drive can handle without the need for an output filter such as a DVDT or sine wave filter. If you're tripping on an overcurrent fault and you have long motor cable distances that exceed the value in the hardware manual, a possible solution could be to install a DVDT or sine wave filter between the drive and the motor.
The last possible cause of an overcurrent fault or warning on your drive that I want to discuss with you could be related to an output contactor or switch being opened and closed between the drive and the motor. Classic HVAC application where you'll have this happen is on a cooling tower. You have a service switch mounted at the cooling tower, and if the VFD is actively modulating, trying to run the motor, and someone's opening and closing a switch, especially on the closing of a switch, while the drive potentially is probably attempting to run the motor at full speed, you're going to get an overcurrent trip, potentially almost every time. Now, one possible solution is you just make sure you turn the drive off before you open and close the service switch between the drive and the motor. Now, one of the benefits of an ABB ACH 580 drive is that you have what's called motor disconnect detection. So you don't, if someone's opening and closing a service switch without turning off the drive, we can prevent an overcurrent trip with an ABB drive by enabling motor disconnect detection. Otherwise, you'll just have to make sure you turn the drive off prior to opening and closing the service switch between the drive and the motor to prevent an overcurrent fault.
Let's now summarize the possible causes of an overcurrent fault on the drive. First off, verify that you do not have a locked or bound up motor rotor shaft that's preventing the shaft from rotating. Verify you do not have any wiring issues between the drive and the motor, especially check the motor conduit box and the motor connections for multi-lead motors. Verify you have the correct motor data programmed into the drive. This is especially important for permanent magnet or synchronous reluctance down motors. Verify you have good input power. The most common issue when I talk about input power are passive harmonic filters or trap filters, as they're also known as. This can cause issues on the output of the drive, even though the filter is installed on the input of the drive. And last, verify that you don't have any output contactor or disconnect opening between the drive and the motor while the drive is running. If you have any further questions about how to troubleshoot an overcurrent fault, do not hesitate to reach out to your local ABB representative.